With breaking news happening now, this is a Wave News Alert.
I'm Shannon Kogan. Let's get to that news alert right now. There are 3 incidents under investigation: a deadly shooting, a deadly stabbing, and a serious crash. First responders across the Louisville Metro were very busy. Right now, it looks like none of the incidents are related, but after a relatively quiet weekend, investigators are trying to determine what happened in each situation. We're following all of that this morning. Wave News reporter Josh Schnake is outside UofL Hospital with more. Josh.
Yeah, Shannon, one person has critical injuries here at University Hospital, but 2 other people who were sent here didn't make it overnight. So the person fighting for their life right now was hurt in a crash on I-65 just after midnight. 3 vehicles ran into each other heading southbound near the Watterson exit. Several adults taken to this hospital, but it's just that one who's in critical condition. Officials don't know what caused the crash at this point. About half an hour before that, there was a stabbing on East Broadway near the turn into Paristown. Police and EMS tried to save the man, but he died when he got here to UofL Hospital. We don't know anything else about the victim at this point. Homicide is investigating, though, but no suspects yet. And the incident that started the night was a shooting at the White Castle at 7th and Algonquin. Officers found evidence of a shooting, but no victim. They found out a man was being driven to University Hospital, but died on the way. The homicide unit is also investigating this crime. Now, at this point, authorities have not identified any of these victims, but of course, we'll keep you posted when they let us know. Live here at University Hospital, Josh Schnake, Wave News.
Thank you, Josh. All right, let's go over to Tawana right now, who has a look at the traffic, because 65 only had 1 lane open for a long time.
Yeah, and it's back open right now. We do have the storm tracker traveling across the area, and all of the roadways that were shut down early this morning, 65 and portions of the Watterson Expressway, all back open right now. So that is some good news. Looking at your traffic maps, not dealing with any major issues out there as you're heading out and about on the roads, and that is certainly some good news for your morning commute. Some more good news, the fact that things are quiet across the region weather-wise this morning. What we're dealing with, just some clouds overhead, and that is it. Some of these showers that have tried to move into our region have just basically fallen apart over the past half an hour, so that's some good news. More of that rain still off to our west, though. Temperatures still sitting mainly in the 40s and 50s. We have been warming up overnight and early this morning as we've been dealing with more of a southerly wind with that warm front moving through. Over the next 12 hours, what we're going to see, temperatures climbing into the upper 60s and low 70s for highs, a mix of sun and clouds across the area with that wind really ramping up, gusting to near 30 miles per hour through the late morning and into the afternoon hours. So get ready for a windy and warmer day. We do have a wind advisory in place for most of us that will go from 8 p.m. tonight through 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, as we watch for most of the region dealing with wind gusts near 40 to 45 miles per hour. So a windy overnight and most of tomorrow as we deal with several rounds of rain. In fact, we do have a marginal risk of severe weather across our region for tomorrow, and that will come along with the afternoon and evening storms in the forecast for your Tuesday. We will see some more rain moving in before we get to that point. So I'll break down what we're going to see in terms of rain chances, especially for tomorrow morning's commute, and my full forecast.
Thanks, Tawana. And today we'll learn what the city plans to do to improve living conditions at Dosker Manor. Wave News has covered the unsanitary conditions, the crime, the drugs at that apartment complex. The Louisville Metro Housing Authority and the mayor will release plans for needed repairs and stopping crime at the apartments on East Muhammad Ali Boulevard. Residents are invited to participate in the planning process. That includes some focus groups, workshops, and surveys. The city also plans to offer more supportive services to people living in Dosker Manor starting in May. Mayor Craig Greenberg will also hold a meeting with federal and local housing officials to announce a grant. The money is going for affordable housing in West Louisville. We'll find out more about that at 11 this morning. Also today, a heads up for drivers crossing the bridges into Indiana or Kentucky. After this happened, there will be some roadblocks and even a full closure on the Clark Memorial Bridge. It's part of the repairs after that crash sent a semi-truck tearing through a guardrail earlier this month. Today's work will go from 9 to 3. During that time, traffic will be down to one southbound lane so workers can move in equipment. Then the bridge will be fully closed so they can put the equipment in place. Repairs are expected to be completed by the middle of next month. Kentucky lawmakers are getting ready to wrap up the legislative session with less than 3 weeks on the clock, but some major bills are still needing to be passed. Several are expected to be discussed today. 4 days are left for the General Assembly to get the bills sent to the governor. Of hundreds of bills filed, just 6 have become law. A new 2-year state budget is one of the top proposals that still needs approval. Both House and Senate members say they expect major movement on the budget. Another bill expected to be discussed today is one that could change COVID vaccine requirements in the workplace. Senate Bill 295 would not require people to get the COVID vaccine in schools, businesses, and hospitals. Supporters of the bill say the COVID-19 vaccine has done more harm than good, saying it's causing sudden deaths in young Americans. Research has shown people getting COVID vaccines are at no greater risk of death from non-COVID cases.
It is just unnecessary right now, and the data is starting to show very clearly there's no reason to require this vaccine.
I worry when we have these really broad pieces of legislation that aren't really rooted in what the public health community is telling us or what the medical community is telling us.
A measure regulating what is and is not a service animal is also going to the Senate. House Bill 335 defines a service animal as one that has been individually trained to work or perform tasks for somebody with disabilities. The person who owns a service animal must also be going to therapy at a healthcare provider or psychologist. In comparison, an emotional support animal would be considered one that may provide support or alleviate the symptoms of a person's condition. Bills impacting teacher pay and sick leave will also be discussed in a committee today. Senate Bill 4 relates to sick leave from members of the teachers' retirement system. Senate Bill 261 covers state employee health insurance. Senate Bill 290 impacts hiring and firing of state personnel. All 3 pass the Senate. They're expected to be brought up in a House committee. Also expected to be on the table today, a bill to let parents have access to their child's medical records. This is House Bill 174. The child must be under the age of 18. The bill would not apply to records protected through HIPAA or other state and federal laws. The Senate committee proposed a change to the bill that is to be further discussed today. And others that have drawn a lot of attention but still in limbo, Senate Bill 147, which would prevent adult-oriented businesses from being in areas close to children. The language of the bill does include drag shows. Senate Bill 20 would clear the way for juveniles to stand trial as adults if they're at least 15 years old and used a gun during certain serious crimes. And House Bill 5, also known as the Safer Kentucky Act, would make widespread changes to the criminal justice system. The bill is in the House Rules Committee after some late changes by the Senate. Lawmakers will meet for 4 days this week. Thursday, they break for a veto session, which will give time for the governor to sign or veto a number of bills. Lawmakers will then have a chance to override any vetoes. Tomorrow, the JCPS board will hear the district's presentation on their new transportation plan that would, some say, would leave many schools high and dry. Last month, the district presented 3 options to the public, and now they've narrowed it down to 1. The plan would take away busing from magnet and traditional schools. JCPS says they had to go with that because they don't have enough drivers to cover their routes and get all riders to class on time each day. But those opposed say this is going to make things harder for parents.
We need to be in a position that our daily routes do not exceed our daily drivers available.
For low-income families specifically, the possibility of providing transportation for their magnet students would be substantially low, furthering the educational gap between social classes.
The district says they're working with TARC to make sure magnet students would have access to public transportation or they can transfer schools. The judge has set a new court date in the Jamie Knoll investigation. On April 9th, Knoll will be in court to try to explain why he had 2 guns in his home. When setting the bond, the judge clearly told Knoll he was only allowed to have 1 shotgun. When police executed a search warrant at his Jeffersonville home, they found 2 handguns earlier this month. It'll be up to Indiana State Police now to respond to an emergency in Washington County overnight. Friday night marked the first time without the sheriff's office having any overnight deputies staffed. Sheriff Brent Miller says he does not have enough deputies to cover that shift between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Indiana State Police will provide coverage during those hours. At an emergency meeting, the Washington County Council agreed to give deputies an $8,000 raise in an effort to retain and recruit officers. Sheriff Miller says his office has been losing deputies to other law enforcement agencies offering more pay.
You'll find that we're about $9,000 below the average starting salary for city and county departments where we're losing people to. And that difference is going to continue to take officers away from us if we don't close that gap.
The raises are set to go into effect by the end of April. The sheriff also says he hopes to bring back overnight patrols when staffing allows, and currently 2 officers are in training at the police academy. It's 6:09, and what are the next 12 hours looking like?
Well, for today, we're going to be seeing highs near 70 degrees. So for that ride home, a lot of kids are going to be A-OK for those kids who are going to school this week. And we'll deal with those windy conditions as well with some gusts near 30 miles per hour. I'll break down what we're going to be seeing as we look ahead in terms of rain chances after the break.
All right, and if you bought a holiday cup from Starbucks, there's a recall to tell you about, and it's caused some injuries too. Plus, a new device is now in operation helping first responders in emergency situations. How that will help save lives, coming up on Sunrise.
News Sunrise.
The first weekend of spring brought a massive snowstorm to parts of New England. Maine, one of the hardest hit areas, they got nearly 2 feet of snow in some parts. Nearly 200,000 people lost power too, and the area was covered in snow. Police reported more than 100 crashes and slide-offs on highways. Crews are now assessing the damage, but officials say it'll likely be several days before power is fully restored across the state. We saw a full moon this morning in Kentucky. The Farmer's Almanac calls this one the worm moon, named after the time of year when Native American tribes saw beetle larvae and other creatures emerging for spring. This morning's was extra special, and it caused a penumbral lunar eclipse for a few hours. So Tawana's here to explain what that is. I don't know.
Basically just a partial lunar eclipse. And we didn't really see anything in our area. We had the clouds overhead, so that kind of limited everything across the area. But what we're seeing right now and what we're looking at, not much happening with the flags in New Albany, but that is going to change as the day goes along. So be fully expect to see a lot of this as the day goes along. A lot of looks at that shot in New Albany and the flags, because we have a wind advisory in place across most of the region. That kicks in at 8 p.m., lasts through tomorrow evening. Right now, the wind just less than 10 miles per hour in most spots. That's it. But as we head into the afternoon and this evening, we're going to see the wind picking up, gusting to near 30 miles per hour. So a windy day ahead. As of right now, no rain pushing through most of the region. We are seeing one lonely shower now tracking through Adair County, and that's all we have going on. Just that one spotty shower in Adair County, and that is it, as the warm front is making its way through our area. That is part of the reason why we're already seeing such warm temperatures across our region. Keep in mind, once we started sunrise this morning at 4:30 a.m., it was 38 degrees in Frankfort. It is currently 46 in the Frankfort. That just shows you how much so many of us have warmed up and how much we will continue to warm up as the day goes along. Most of us now fully into those 40s and low 50s, with Jeffersonville and Sellersburg our only exceptions, still showing up at 39 degrees, 41 for Jeffersonville, and then we're seeing 48 into LaGrange, 47 in Fairdale, 50 50 right now here at Wave News downtown. We'll keep an eye on a few of the sprinkles, light showers trying to move in for this morning, but most of us just will be dry. A mix of sun and clouds once we head into the afternoon with highs in the upper 60s and the low 70s. Once we head into tonight, especially as we approach midnight, that is when some rain will start to take over our region. We'll also see the wind increasing at this point with some gusts overnight into early tomorrow near 40 to 45 miles per hour. Going to keep the strong wind for most of your Tuesday, by the way, with that southerly wind still coming into play. That is until the front moves through tomorrow evening. So until that point, going to keep some rain chances in the forecast. For your Tuesday, what we're looking at, seeing widespread rain moving in around midnight Tuesday morning, and then we'll see more rounds of rain for your Tuesday morning commute. By the time we reach lunch, the widespread rain will be moving out. We'll even see a mix of sun and clouds for tomorrow afternoon. This should allow our temperatures to jump to near 70 degrees for a high. If we see more sunshine, we can easily jump into the low 70s. Not going to be surprised if that happens. Now, the thing that we'll have to watch for tomorrow afternoon into the evening is the timing of the cold front. When will it move through? Because as it does so, it will trigger a line of showers and thunderstorms across portions of wave country, bringing the potential not just for some thunderstorms, but for some of those storms to be on the stronger side. Once we get through your Tuesday evening, we'll quickly dry out across the region behind that front. But we do have a marginal risk of severe weather across most of the region for tomorrow. This is mainly for the afternoon and evening storm chance. This is fully conditional, so there's entirely a possibility where we do not see a drop of rain tomorrow afternoon. So this conditional threat is there for tomorrow afternoon and evening with damaging winds as the main threat. Overall, talking about 1/4 inch to an inch of rain across our region with this storm system. For those of you who see any afternoon and evening storms, you're more likely to see those totals getting closer to an inch. Cooler with some clouds overhead on Wednesday, jumping into the 60s for highs again come Friday. For Easter weekend, I know a lot of people are paying close attention to this because of all of the events going on. A few spotty showers are possible Saturday morning as of right now, with a few more rounds of rain at times on Sunday. Right now, Sunday is not looking like a washout, but certainly going to be keeping an eye on those rain chances as we head through the first half of next week. Some more rounds of rain in the forecast.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots.
A Louisville ensemble brought the gift of music to many Sunday, and a Wave staffer was among them. The Louisville Winds played a free concert at Male High School Sunday afternoon. It's a 60-piece group. They have trumpets, flutes, clarinets, oboes, and look at that. That's Wave troubleshooter Mark Stevens playing the tuba for them. They've been playing in concert settings since 2011. That is fabulous. All right, Tawana's here right now. He sounds pretty good.
He was pretty good, and my favorite part is that there was a line, a whole row of seats that was just Wave employees cheering him on last night. For anybody heading out today, what we're going to see a mix of sun and clouds across the area, highs in the upper 60s and the low 70s. It will be windy with some gusts to near 30 miles per hour. The wind increases overnight into tomorrow. That is when we can see some wind gusts near 40 to 45 miles per hour. So tomorrow, looking windy and wet for tomorrow morning. The commute is going to be a rough one with the wind and, of course, that rain coming down. Then we head into the afternoon, drier initially, but then we could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms, some of them on the strong side for the second half of your Tuesday. Then we head into Wednesday, highs in the 50s, so some clouds clearing out, more sunshine on Thursday. We add back in the clouds Friday with temperatures jumping back into the mid to upper 60s. For your Easter weekend, there's a small rain chance Saturday morning. That's something that we'll have to continue to keep an eye on, and a better chance for some scattered showers on Easter itself, but not looking like a complete washout. So keep that in mind if you have any plans. Once we get into the first half of next week, we'll be talking about a couple of rounds of rain as temperatures go from the 70s on Monday down into the 50s by next Wednesday.
Thanks, Tawana. The terror group ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack on Moscow's concert hall Friday. The attack killed more than 130 people and left many more injured. Russian authorities arrested 4 suspected attackers Saturday. 7 more were detained. 2 suspects were brought into the Moscow District Court Sunday night. Reports identified the 4 alleged gunmen as citizens of Tajikistan. Meanwhile, a memorial is growing. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a national day of mourning, and flags were at half-staff throughout the country. Israel plans to block food from entering Gaza. The United Nations Relief Aid and workers reported that the country informed them they would no longer approve of any aid convoys to the northern part of the Strip. The agency has not been able to deliver food to Palestinians now for 2 months. Several donor countries withdrew support from the UNRWA after Israel alleged some of their staff members participated in the October 7th Hamas attacks. But they never provided any evidence, and since then, some countries have resumed funding. A mountain lion attacked 2 brothers in California Saturday. One died and the other was severely injured. Authorities said the attack happened in a remote area near Georgetown, California. An 18-year-old reported he and his 21-year-old brother were attacked by that mountain lion while they were out hunting. The 18-year-old suffered injuries to his face and was separated from his brother during the attack. He was taken to a nearby hospital. Deputies then found the body of the brother. The mountain lion was euthanized Saturday near the attack site. Nestle USA is recalling more than 440,000 Starbucks-branded mugs because of burn and laceration hazards. The metallic-coated ceramic mugs were included in 4 gift sets sold during last year's holiday season. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission reported 12 incidents of mugs overheating or breaking after being microwaved or filled with extremely hot liquid. 10 injuries have been reported, including 9 cases with severe burns and blisters, and 1 requiring medical attention. These mugs were sold online and at retailers from November 2023 through January of 2024. Happening now, police are investigating 3 incidents overnight that left 2 people dead and 1 critically injured. A shooting, a stabbing, and a crash. We'll have the latest on the investigation.
With breaking news happening now, this is a Wave News Alert.
Let's get to that news alert. It was a quiet weekend across Louisville until late last night. 2 people were killed and another person is in critical condition after 3 seemingly unrelated incidents, including a crash, a stabbing, and a shooting. Josh Dinky in the studio right now with more on what we know.
One of the crash victims is in critical condition at University Hospital right now. And while health workers are fighting to save their life, 2 other people who were taken there didn't make it. Now, that person in critical condition was hurt in a crash on I-65 just after midnight. 3 vehicles ran into each other heading southbound near the Watterson exit. At this point, we don't really know what caused that accident, but the other two people were taken to the hospital and should be fine. We're still waiting for an update on the other victim there. About half an hour before that, there was a stabbing on East Broadway near the turn into Paristown. Police and EMS tried to save the man, but he died when he got to U of L Hospital. We don't know anything else about the victim at this point. Homicide is investigating, but there are no suspects yet. And the incident that started the night was a shooting at the White Castle at 7th and Algonquin. Officers found evidence of a shooting, but no victim around 11 p.m. But they found out a man from the scene was being driven to University Hospital, but died on the way there. The homicide unit is also investigating that crime. Police haven't told us anything about the identities of any of these victims, but of course, we'll let you know when they do. Live here in the studio, Josh Dinky, Wave News.
Thanks, Josh. And keeping an eye on the roads after everything that happened overnight and early this morning. And thankfully, things are clear. Storm Tracker currently traveling on 65 southbound, now getting on towards the Watterson Expressway, not dealing with any issues where he is. And looking at the maps across our area for today, what we're going to be starting off with, thankfully, quiet weather out there and also quiet roads out there. But things are going to evolve as the day goes along. So let's talk about what we're going to be seeing with the weather for today. Temperatures right now warming up across the area with more and more of us climbing into the 40s and 50s. That's because of a warm front that is currently making its way through our region. We're going to be seeing temperatures climbing into the upper 60s and low 70s for highs this afternoon with a mix of sun and clouds. Most of the day going to be dry and just fine. Once we get into this afternoon, the wind is going to start picking up, coming mainly out of the south, gusting to near 30 miles per hour. With the wind and the low humidity we have across the area, that does bring about an elevated fire risk. So that means a small spark can become a quick fire very easily in these kinds of situations. Burning, not recommended. I saw a couple of people just cleaning things up in their backyards yesterday. Today is certainly not a day to do any of that burning at all, no matter what kind of spring cleaning that you're doing. We're going to be keeping an eye on the wind, not just for this afternoon, but also through tonight into early tomorrow morning. In fact, we're going to be talking about wind gusts overnight into early tomorrow near 45 miles per hour, and that is why our wind advisory will kick in at 8 p.m. tonight. I'll talk about the wind and the rain coming our way as well in my full forecast.
Thanks, Tawana. LMPD officers held a memorial service this weekend to honor an officer who died in the line of duty in 2005. Peter Grignon was just 27 years old when he was killed while responding to a call in South Louisville. He was shot 4 times by a 17-year-old who then turned the gun on himself. Every year, his family and fellow officers hold a memorial at Cave Hill Cemetery on the anniversary of his death. His wife, Rebecca, who is now the executive director of the LMPD Foundation, talked about how his legacy continues to inspire officers in the department.
Peter can't be here physically, but I know that he is looking down from heaven, and I know he is so proud of his brothers and sisters on LMPD. To see these young men step up and to remember him in such an amazing way is so meaningful to our family.
You can donate to the LMPD Foundation through a link on wave3.com. Police in southern Indiana have arrested 3 people accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of baby formula. Edgar Ramirez, Nora Zarate, and a minor who was with them are all in custody. Officers say they caught them at a Walmart after a reported theft, and inside their car, police say they found more than $20,000 worth of baby formula. Police say it is connected to a larger shoplifting ring operating in Newburgh, Jasper, and Evansville. Baptist Health is encouraging people to get colon screening, saying it's more important now than ever before to get checked. March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Even though people are typically advised to get screened for colon cancer at the age of 45, it can impact people of all ages. And those with a history of colon cancer in their family are advised to get tested 5 years earlier than the age of the youngest family member with the disease. Doctors say early screenings can save lives.
When you do the screenings appropriately, the vast majority of people catch their cancer at a very early stage that oftentimes can be treated with minimally invasive techniques. Don't just say, well, I'm not 45 yet. Listen to your body. It's usually pretty good at talking to you.
Colon cancer is more common in Kentucky than any other state in the nation. Some Baptist Health locations will be hosting some free colon cancer screenings this week. Baptist Health Louisville is hosting a colon cancer screening this Saturday at Beulah Church Farmers Market from 10 to 2. Baptist Health Hardin will also host one this Wednesday from 9 until noon at the Nelson County Fiscal Court. A new device could help save lives in Floyd County. Traditionally, CPR compressions are done by hand, but now a new machine does it all by itself. Lucas, which stands for Lund University Cardiac Assist System, is a device that provides automatic chest compressions to a patient. It prevents strain on first responders and keeps their hands free to help more people. During a cardiac arrest, there's a high risk of losing oxygen to the brain. Officials say the device can perform compressions for 45 minutes nonstop, something that is very strenuous for a person to do.
There's a concern during prolonged cardiac arrest for responder fatigue, and as time goes on, you give or provide, lower quality compressions. So the Lucas device takes all of that out of the equation.
All 3 of New Albany's AmeriPro ambulances will have one of these devices. Crews have finished training and they're ready to be used now when needed. The annual Derby Museum Hat Show happened Sunday at the Kentucky Derby Museum. The event featured 5 local milliners who got to walk the runway in some of their favorite hats. Then after the show, attendees got to meet those milliners, look at their designs, and maybe start planning their Derby outfits. Every year, the Hat Show gives a preview of new trends that are expected to be popular at the Derby.
When you're talking about Derby 150, anything goes. We could see a lot of flashbacks to Derby's past. We could see a lot of modern trends that maybe we haven't even thought of yet. So really, for Derby 150, I think people are going to go all out.
To learn more about the milliners who were featured in this year's Hat Show, just go to our website, wave3.com. It is 6:37 right now. Tawana?
And what we're seeing over the next 12 hours, gusty winds near 30 miles per hour as we head into the afternoon. So, you know, on a day like today, I'm going to say make sure the wigs, the eyelashes are properly secured, and make sure you're keeping an eye on the hats as well. Now, once we head into the overnight, the wind is going to be stronger as we watch for rain coming our way. I'll break down those rain chances after the break.
A southern Indiana woman is turning 100, and she got a parade her husband promised her before he passed away. The town of Pekin, Indiana got together at the town hall Sunday afternoon, lining up behind a police escort for a parade going to Joe Tomes' big birthday bash at the Pekin Park. That is where people packed into the park center to wish Tomes a happy birthday. It was an outpouring of love and support from the community from those who know Tomes best. And what made it even more special was the person who planned it, Tomes' late husband, James. He passed away in January at the age of 91. They had been married since 1988. Well, it's not easy being cheesy. Look at this Tri-State billboard right now. A lot of people are talking about it, thanks to mac and cheese. So if you're driving near Cincinnati in northern Kentucky, you might have seen this. It shows a man, and it shows him eating cheese, and it says that this man consumes over 20 gallons of liquid cheese in a year, and no one can stop him. Northern Kentucky native Jonathan Pittman is the man behind the billboard. He said he saw his friend eating mac and cheese, so he took a photo and then thought it would be funny to put it on a billboard, and it's getting a lot of attention.
Oh, it's hilarious. You know, I think it, helps, morale, things like that in the city, funny things popping up, and it does kind of bring people together when they see that and, talk about it.
Well, Pittman wouldn't confirm if his friend actually does eat that much liquid cheese, but he says his friend wasn't aware of the billboard ahead of time, but hopefully he does love it. That is funny, and that is a expensive thing to do.
Yes, just to prank your friends, but that's a good, wholesome prank. That doesn't hurt anybody, although he might be embarrassed. Just like everybody walks around like, do you eat that much?
I can't believe you've never had liquid cheese, like Cheese Whiz. They put it on a cracker. Really?
No.
It's actually pretty good.
Well, I'm just going to add it to the list of all the things that I need to try. For those of you maybe, downing that for your breakfast this morning, I'll talk about the windy conditions in the forecast for later today in just 30 seconds. Good morning, meteorologist Tawana Andrew here with a check of your forecast and what we have going on right now as we look into New Albany at the Flags. Not much, but that's for now. As the day continues, we are going to see that wind increasing across our area. So that shot is going to look very different once we head into this afternoon. Right now, for most of the region, the wind is less than 10 miles per hour coming out of the south. But as we continue throughout the day, the wind will increase. In fact, we do have a wind advisory that kicks in at 8 p.m. tonight, lasting through 6 p.m. tomorrow evening for the majority of our region. And that's because for the overnight into tomorrow, we could see wind gusts near 40 to 45 miles per hour. But for today, for our daytime hours, really just talking about wind gusts near 30 miles per hour. Still strong enough to cause some impacts, especially for those of you traveling on our east-west roads. So we're talking parts of the Waterson Expressway, the Snyder, the Lee Hamilton. This is where you can see impacts from that stronger southerly wind for the afternoon and evening commutes. What we're seeing on the satellite and radar right now, just some clouds overhead, and that is it. Watching a few light showers now drift drifting through portions of Adair County, but that is quickly moving out. Will move out within the next half an hour. This all comes along with the warm front that is currently making its way through our region, but we'll have to keep an eye on the low and the cold front off towards our west, because those will bring in more chances for rain for tonight into tomorrow. Our temperatures have been steadily warming up with that warm front pushing through. That is why more of us are sitting in the low to mid 50s. 51 at the airport in Louisville, but 56 in Fort Knox, 53 in Bardstown. Cooler for those of you further to the north and northeast, because you are still a little bit further behind in terms of how long that you've had that southerly wind in your area. So that's why we're only seeing those 40s for those of you further to the north and east. But you're going to quickly warm up as the morning continues. Our futurecast shows the clouds overhead with a few spotty showers lingering for the morning commute. We get into the afternoon, a mix of sun and clouds with temperatures climbing into the upper 60s and low 70s for your highs. These will mainly be mid to upper level clouds as we continue throughout the day. So some of that filtered sunshine, yes, is in the forecast. Then as we approach midnight tonight, that is when the rain is going to start to take over. But that's also when the wind is really going to ramp up, with some of these gusts overnight into tomorrow near 40 to 45 miles per hour, as I mentioned. Let's look at the next 10 days, because of course the main focus for right now will be the rain moving in for tomorrow. We'll watch it gradually taking over after midnight, and we'll keep these rounds of rain for the morning commute tomorrow, with temperatures for tomorrow morning sitting in the low to mid 50s. Then we head towards your Tuesday afternoon, drying out with the widespread rain moving out, but the cold front will start to move in for the afternoon and evening. And as that happens, we'll see a line of showers and thunderstorms moving out ahead of that front, bringing about the potential for some stronger thunderstorms for the second half of your Tuesday. But that will be pretty quick and isolated in nature as we watch that band of rain moving through. Regardless, we do have that marginal risk of severe weather out for the entire region, mainly looking at tomorrow afternoon and evening with that damaging wind gusts, the main threat with any of those second half of the day storms for your Tuesday. Around a half an inch of rain for most of us tomorrow, but keep in mind for those of you who see those pockets of heavier rain, especially with the afternoon storms on your Tuesday, that is where we can see some of those totals getting closer to an inch. For the second half of the work week, quiet with some sunshine around, with highs in the 50s on Wednesday, then 60s by Friday. For the Easter weekend, we do see an isolated rain chance Saturday morning with a better chance of some showers, pretty scattered right now on Sunday. For right now, Sunday's not looking like a complete washout, and then we'll keep some rounds of rain for the first half of next week.
Thanks, Tawana. A man is behind bars this morning in Adair County after allegedly murdering his landlord. Adair County police say they responded to a call about a shooting incident on Old Montpelier Road, and they found Joseph South was being evicted from the residence he was renting from. Police say South got to Earl Coffey's house, the property owner, and then shot into his home. Police say Coffey died, and they found 4 other people at the home at the time of the incident. South was found at the scene by police. He's been arrested and charged with murder and 4 counts of wanton endangerment in the first degree. Cleanup efforts are still in full swing more than a week after a tornado impacted states across our region. At Route 56 campground in Jefferson County, Indiana, mobile campers are still overturned and debris is scattered around the area. Jefferson County emergency management leaders say they're close to wrapping up damage assessments.
I would say we are probably on the downhill slide of really a lot of the damage cleanup. The assessments, we've got most of those completed as well, so we've done a couple of rounds of assessments to all the property damage. The Red Cross has been down, Indiana Homeland Security has been down, so we're in the middle of compiling all that data to match numbers and talk back and forth and make decisions about what we're actually going to classify things.
Governor Holcomb signed a disaster declaration in an effort to get relief to people faster. A Northern Kentucky company is making it easier for people with disabilities to get around. Customers describe Ride-A-Wave as Uber for wheelchairs. It basically functions the same, except drivers will come into your home and then help you get into and out of their vehicles. Lori Meninger said she started this after hearing stories about people with disabilities or mobility aids being stranded at the airport or not being able to find their drivers and being forced to knock on windows.
A lot of people in my condition are dependent upon other people to lift them up, put Put the wheelchair in the trunk if you can. Take them places. Keep them from falling down, or if they fall down, pick them back up. And you get tired of asking people to help you.
The CDC says more than 1.3 million Kentuckians have a disability. The goal of Ride a Wave is to make sure they can get the same services as any other rider. Taking a look at the big stories we're following today from around the country and the world. A court has ordered former President Donald Trump to pay a $464 million bond today. And if Trump can't afford to pay it, he could lose some of his property. A bond is needed as the former president appeals the 9-figure penalty against him. In Truth Social Post Sunday, Trump blasted the judge who ordered that judgment and New York Attorney General Letitia James, who filed that civil case. Trump's critics are concerned about where he will get the money. Israel and Hamas could soon swap hostages and prisoners. Israel is waiting for Hamas to respond after agreeing to a U.S. prisoner exchange proposal. It includes 40 Israeli hostages and around 700 Palestinian prisoners. Among them are 100 Palestinians serving life sentences for killing Israeli nationals. The news comes the same week Israeli officials are in Washington. A spring snowstorm made for some messy road conditions across Minnesota. According to the Minnesota State Patrol, there have been hundreds of crashes, 10 semis jackknifed. At least 13 of the crashes involved injuries, too. According to the National Weather Service, the worst conditions in the Twin Cities are expected to continue through early today. And no one won Saturday night's Powerball drawing, so that means that jackpot is now up to $800 million. So there were at least 5 people who won $1 million. That drawing is tonight. More in Wave News Sunrise coming up next. Good morning. Let's take a look at your wake-up watch list right now at 6:53. Metro Police are investigating 3 incidents that happened late last night that left 2 people dead and 1 person critically injured. Officers are conducting a murder investigation after a shooting at the White Castle on the corner of 7th and Algonquin Parkway. Officers got there. They did not find a victim, but then they were notified that the victim was on the way to U of L Hospital by private means, and he died on the way there. Less than an hour later, LMPD headed to the 900 block of East Broadway, where they found a man stabbed. He was also taken to the hospital, but died shortly after arriving. And a multi-vehicle crash sent several people to U of L Hospital, 1 critically injured. That happened on I-65 South near the fairgrounds just before 12:30 this morning. Officers are trying to find out exactly what caused the crash. Today, we'll learn what the city plans to do to improve living conditions at Dosker Manor. The Louisville Metro Housing Authority and the mayor will release plans for needed repairs and stopping crime. Residents will be invited to participate in the planning process, which will include focus groups, workshops, and surveys. Mayor Craig Greenberg will also hold a meeting with federal and local housing officials to announce a grant. The money is going for affordable housing in West Louisville. Well, it's going to be a windy day today, Tawana.
Yes, and we have a wind advisory in place. That's going to be for tonight into tomorrow evening and for the majority of our region. Before the daytime hours today, going to be talking about wind gusts near 30 miles per hour coming out of the south. So that means for those of you traveling on our east-west roads to the Waterston, parts of the Snyder, parts of Lee Hamilton, you'll be more impacted. 64 as well will be impacted by these stronger wind gusts coming out of the south for later on today. But right now, just the clouds overhead, and that is it. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s across our region. We'll easily continue to warm up over the next 12 hours, ending up in the upper 60s and low 70s for highs as we deal with a mix of sun and clouds overhead. Looking at the next 10 days, what we have going on, some rain moving in tonight, and we'll keep some chances for some thunderstorms into tomorrow afternoon, and a few more rain chances showing up for the Easter holiday weekend. What we're dealing with right now as you're heading out on the roads, no major issues to speak of. The storm tracker is out and about, and things are looking just fine where he is on 65. And looking at the maps, we just have 1 stalled vehicle on parts of 65 near the Snyder, and that is it.
All right. I can't believe it's already Easter.
I know, right?
Palm Sunday yesterday, Easter
I know.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had any peeps yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm not really a big peeps guy.
I'm not a peeps
Jelly
person.
beans, though. That's
yeah, I'm with you on those. Yes.
Today's show is coming up next. Hope you have a great Monday.
Get live streaming news, 24-hour weather, investigations, podcasts, and more. All for free with Wave Now. Watch on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and the Wave News app. Sponsored by Kaufman and Stigger Injury Lawyers. Get the Tiger on your side.